Hello everyone. Sorry, excuse my use of the phone in the church. I am currently very busy and I kind of use my phone to write down my little bits for my speeches. I suppose I'll start. My name is Katelyn Cummins. I am this year's 2025 International Rose of Tralee, and I'm also the current winner of Dancing with the Stars. I've had an amazing past 9 months, an amazing past year. My life has done a complete 360 since this time last year, but it's been phenomenal. I was born 21 years ago in Kilkenny, and I am 21 years of age. But when I was 8 months old, I was diagnosed with a hearing disability, and I have a severe to profound loss in both of my ears. And I have worn hearing aids since I was 8 months old, and it's a very small part of me that I don't share very much. And I think a lot of the reason with that was because growing up, I went to a mainstream school. My parents put me into speech and language therapy when I was a toddler, and I learned how to have great speech like this. I'm very, very grateful for it. But when I was in primary school, I struggled an awful lot with feeling like I didn't fit in, and that I wasn't like every other person. Every other person was able to play outside in the rain. They were able to do water sport. We could do swimming lessons and they could hear each other. Me, without my hearing aids, I wasn't able to communicate with other people because I couldn't hear them. And my hearing aids growing up were never waterproof either. And I felt like I was challenged a lot by it when I was in primary school. And it kind of escalated a little bit further then when I went to secondary school, and we were put into an even bigger school, bigger classes, with a lot more kids, and I went to an all-girls school, primary school, so when I went to secondary school I ended up going to a mixed school, and now there was boys involved as well. And at the young age of 12 or 13, it's very hard to have a disability. That is noticeable, that people don't know how to talk about. And I think, especially in Ireland and growing up as a young Irish teenager with a disability, a lot of people didn't know how to navigate it, or they didn't know how to talk to me about it or try and educate themselves about it. And it was a struggle for me too, because I didn't know how to educate people about it either. But we hit the COVID pandemic when I was in my junior cert. So when I was 15, sorry, excuse my voice. When I was doing my junior cert, the COVID pandemic hit, and I was at home and we were farming, and the schools turned to doing online learning with Zoom calls and classes online. And because of my hearing impairment, I need to lip read people, and that's my form of communication. I lip read with people on a daily basis. I can't hear behind me, I can't hear beside me, I have to be looking at you to be speaking to you. And this was a massive challenge for me when we started doing classes at home. Some of the teachers' Wi-Fi wasn't great at home, or it was a little bit glitchy, and I couldn't lip read them. So I just didn't do school at all. And I farmed at home with my dad for the 7-8 months that we were home, milking cows, feeding calves on our dairy farm at home, and I was happy out. Then we had to go back to school. I was going back to school in TY then, and everyone was wearing a mask. Lip reading was no longer an avenue that I could use to communicate with people. It was an extremely challenging year for myself, for my family, and for a lot of people in my school as well, because I couldn't communicate with people and therefore they couldn't communicate with me either. And my teachers, God bless them, they were absolutely amazing. They tried every avenue possible to allow me to have my education throughout secondary school. And it was a time where I learned that I had to stand up for myself. I had to be my advocate for my disability. I had to tell people what I needed, what I wanted. And it was something that I didn't know how to do. And it was something that I just learned to do gradually over time as well, that I needed to stand up for myself, because who else was going to? I had my mum and my dad when I was in primary school, but I was becoming a bigger girl coming into secondary school. I was going to be on my own, and I needed to learn how to talk about it. And I've always been a confident, outgoing, brave person growing up. I always have been. I'm an oldest child of 3 kids, and I've always been kind of the boss. But I could never get that confidence for people to show people what I actually needed when it came to my disability. So I spoke with Mum and Dad at home, and I learned that, going through school with the mask on, it wasn't really working for me. And I hated studying, I hated exams. School became a very hard thing for me to do. So I kind of decided then that I didn't really want to go to college. And it was in that time when I was in TY that I decided I didn't really want to go to college, and that studying for 4 years wasn't something that was interesting for me, because a big lecture hall, it was going to be hard to learn as well. And I had kind of thought about all those things in that year of TY, because it's kind of when people kind of figure out what they're going to do with the rest of their lives. So I was down at the farm one morning with my dad, and we were milking cows, or we were feeding cows, it was one or the other. And I said to Dad, I was like, I don't want to go to college, but I need to do work experience for TY. And he said, why don't you do an apprenticeship? And I said, what's an apprenticeship? And he said, it's where you get paid to learn for 4 years. And I was like, brilliant, I'm doing that. And then I said, what can you do an apprenticeship in? And he told me about all the different trade crafts, that plumbing, electrical, fitting, every one of them. And my dad, I'm the oldest daughter, I work hard, I'm always on the farm, so Dad obviously wanted me to go into a trade, so we took that on, so we did anyways. But went down for the week with my local neighbour, who is an electrician, JJ Sullivan, and we worked together for the week, and I had the best week of my entire life. I had so much fun. We went to a swimming pool, we went to a cheese factory, we went to a lighting warehouse, and we went to a normal house, all within the 1 week, 5 days, and it was incredible. And I came home that Friday evening, I sat down having tea with my mum, my dad, my brother, my sister Molly and Jack, and I said to them, I want to be an electrician. And you can only imagine my mum and dad's face light up. They're like, oh my God, brilliant, she knows what she's going to do. But that was kind of only the start of that. I went back to school then, did my Leaving Cert, and that came with challenges too, because we still had maths then in TY as well, and then the pace of learning in 5th and 6th year got quicker and it got harder. And I have a radio wave device that teachers use, which is connected to my hearing aids through Bluetooth, and I hated using it. I hated using that because it made me feel like I was singling myself out from the others. It made me different, and I hated using it. So I kind of had to learn to trust in that, and that was going to help me with my education. So I started handing it back up to teachers. Some teachers didn't even know it existed. Some of my teachers, I had never brought it out before, that they didn't know it was something that I used in school. So we went back to using the radio wave device, and I went back to, school being taught at a normal level again before the COVID pandemic. But when I was in school, and it was the same in primary school as well, that teachers felt the need to single me out in some classes, that there was a need for me to be sat up the front, or they didn't need to put me in a group activity because I wasn't going to be able to hear it. And it was little things like those that didn't make me feel normal. I think the way I've learned over the last few years is, if someone has a disability, or if you have a disability yourself, make it known what way you want to be treated. And I've learned that an awful lot as well, that people are not as educated as they seem to be, and it's your own job to educate people on that as well. So it is. But I went back and did my Leaving Cert then, and probably faced one of the biggest challenges then after that was trying to find an employer for my apprenticeship. Myself and my dad rang up a good few local businesses, local companies, trying to get in as a job as an apprentice electrician, and we were knocked back time and time again by men who were telling us that I wasn't going to be able for it, or a girl didn't belong in this industry, or a girl wouldn't be able to do a man's job. And it kind of only further pushed my determination and my motivation to want to do it. I wanted to prove that I could. I wanted to prove that I was going to be able to do it. And about 4 months after my Leaving Cert then, I got in with Alpha Drives in Portlaoise, and I can safely say I'm still with them today. I'm very, very grateful for them. They've been absolutely amazing. I'm the only girl where I work. I work with all lads, and I have the best crack every single day. I'm always laughing, I have great fun, and I've learned so much as well. My job is very niche. We do control panels, industrial panels for big companies, Dublin Airport, EPS, and it's very interesting work, and I absolutely love it. But then I kind of, working with all lads, I'm not really making any girlfriends in my 20s. What can I do? My dad sees an application for the Laois Roses on Facebook, and he sent it on to me one night. I was up ice skating with my sister and her friend up in Dunleary in Dublin, and he sent it on to me and he goes, you should go into this. And I said, oh, I don't know, Dad, I'm in the middle of my career, it's not really the right time, there's a good bit of money involved. And he was like, I should go in, see what the crack is, see what it's about. And I went, okay, well, I'm not going in on my own. Mum, you're coming with me. So brought my mum in with me, and I said, we just said we'd go in, see what the crack was all about, what is involved in the Rose of Tralee. Because like most people, they only watch it on television. And that's what we had done our entire lives. We had only watched it on television. We didn't actually know what was involved in the festival going into it, how to be part of it. So I went in and met Lynn Maloney, who is the Laois Rose coordinator. And it's safe to say, within the first 5 minutes, she had myself and my mum convinced that we had to do it, that it was going to be a regrettable decision if we didn't. So I went home that night, and Dad's sitting on the couch, well, how did it go? And I said, it went really well, I think I'm going to apply. Told you so. And I was like, okay, maybe so. Filled out my application form and met 16 other girls who were going for the Laois Rose. And two of them have become my absolute best friends. And I'm very, very grateful that I did actually get to make friends out of it, because a lot of people think we go to make friends. But I actually did, and I'm very lucky to be able to say that I did. But yeah, winning Laois Rose was definitely not something I ever envisioned for myself. It was just a way to make more friends in Laois for me, and to be part of the festival that I always had watched growing up, just to see what it was all about. And the picture of me winning down in Tralee, my face was a very similar replica the night in Portlaoise when I was selected as well. It was a shock, but it was a good shock. I didn't know what was going to happen after that night. None of us did, and it took us on, I think, the best experience of our entire life. Myself, my family, my friends, every single person who's been involved with me, my community of Ballyoscyle as well. You know, it's been absolutely incredible, the entire journey since. But after Laois, you know, I didn't get up and talk about my hearing aids on stage in Portlaoise during the Laois Rose selection. I didn't want it to be something that people thought of when they saw me first. I wanted them to know I was an electrician. I'm part of Macra. I was born a farmer. You know, I wanted them to know the things that make me me and not my disability. And then going down to Tralee, you know, RTE came up to me one of the days and they said, are you going to talk about your hearing disability? It'll be really inspiring for other people. And I said, I don't think so. I said, I think I want people to know me for me. Being an electrician, being a farmer, being part of Macra, being a huge family person, and I'm really involved in my community as well. I said, I want them to know that about me. And some of the people involved with RTE really tried to push me and to make me talk about my disability, and I really didn't want to, so I didn't. And I'm very, very thankful that I stood my ground when I was down in Tralee, and I turned around and I said, no, I want it to be about me. And then it kind of just, it came up in my interview with the judges down at the Rose of Tralee, and I said to them, it's a really small part of me, like you wouldn't even notice it unless I said it, and they believed me, you know, and that's the way it is. Nobody would know if I didn't tell them. And so going down to Tralee, I wanted it to be about me. And I got up on that stage on live television and I talked about being an electrician, being a farmer, being part of Macra, and being a part of my community, because those are the things that are so important to me. And I've gone on to do all those things since the Rose of Tralee, and then I ended up getting onto Dancing with the Stars. And RTE turned around to me as well for Dancing with the Stars. Do you want to talk about your hearing disability? I said no. I said it's such a small part of me that people don't even need to know about. But then I started to realise throughout the show and throughout the support I was getting and messages I was getting from strangers or stories I was hearing back from my family and things, people wanted to know who I was. They didn't want to know who the Rose of Tralee was. They didn't want to know who the winner was. They just wanted to know who I was. And I think a big part of that was me finally realising that, you know, my disability is not who I am, but it's definitely a part of me. And I was so grateful that Dancing with the Stars allowed me to tell my story in my own way, that there is a certain way that I hear music, there's a certain way that I do things, a certain way I learn. And I was very grateful to be given the opportunity to showcase that, and that was my way of telling my own story without getting up and doing a speech about I was diagnosed at this and that and the other. I was it was just really nice to be able to tell my story in my own way. But I think, and a lot of people have said this, and either Father said it as well, that I'm an inspiration to people, which is so funny to me. And it's not even funny, but it's strange. Because I'm a 21-year-old from a small little village in Ballyoscyle who has just lived my own normal life. And I don't ever feel like I've ever done anything superior to stand out from other people, because my whole life growing up, I always felt like I didn't fit in. And the Rose of Tralee Festival showed me that that's okay. I didn't need to fit in, that the festival celebrates women for who they are and for being Irish. And the festival has done that for me over the last couple of months. It celebrated me for who I am. I've got to say yes and no to any event I want to do. I've said yes to nearly everything because I have 1 year to do this and 1 year to do all these opportunities and to take everything in my stride. And I love doing these things. They're so different. Every person I meet every day is different. Every event I go to is different. No two things I've done this year are the same. And it's been amazing. And I've done so much travelling as well this year. I haven't fitted into anybody's mould. I haven't fitted in to what anybody ever expected me to be this year. And I definitely didn't fit into what I thought I was going to do this year either. And I've just continued to exceed my own expectations of what this year was going to be like. I've been to Germany, I've been to New York, Texas, Nashville, Ottawa, Toronto. I was just in London last weekend, and I'm flying to New York again on Thursday. I've had so many opportunities this year to do travelling, which is something I'm also really passionate about. But the Rose of Tralee Festival has celebrated that. They want me to do the things that make me me. And I've learned so much about myself over the last couple of months as well, that I am who I am because of the things that I've done and the people that I've met and the things I've been through. And that's okay too. And as well, this summer, I'm very, very grateful that in 2 weeks' time, I'm going travelling for 6 weeks to Thailand and Vietnam. And it's kind of another journey of going to find myself again and to take some time out and reflect on what this year has actually been. It's been it's been nearly 10 months, which is crazy because it feels like yesterday I was crowned. But yeah, the people who've supported me along the way, my community of Ballyuskal, my family have been absolutely incredible. I wouldn't be where I am today. And my community, Ballyuskal, if you don't know it, it sits on the border of Laois and Kilkenny. We're more on the Kilkenny side than the Laois side, but we won't say that out loud too much more. But the night I was crowned the Rose of Tralee, my pub, the Wheel Inn in Ballyuskal, was full of people watching it. It was live streamed, they were all watching it, and people were watching it at home and then came down and celebrated afterwards. And then they got to work straight away the next morning. They were all up organising my homecoming, my coming back from Tralee. They organised music, they organised lorries, they organised parking. There was flags put up. It was like I was become the President of Ireland. It was incredible. It actually was incredible, so it was. And they have done that continuously since August. Every time I've needed them to show up or needed the smallest bit of help with anything, they've been there. I had a homecoming with, I've had nearly 4 or 5 homecomings now, but I had a homecoming with RTE for Dancing with the Stars, bringing Leonardo back to Ballyuskal, and they were in touch with my dad about organising, don't tell Katelyn anything, it's all a surprise. She's under enough stress being in the final, we'll do it all ourselves. So I came back, I drove myself and Leonardo down from Dublin back home, and I didn't know what I was walking into. And drove around the back way around Ballyuskal so that I couldn't see what was going on in the parish. And my mum dropped us off just before going into the village, and there was a tractor with a trailer on it and a bale of hay on the back. And they told us to get up on the tractor, that we were going to be getting up on the trailer and being driven through the village. And there must have been over 200 or 300 people in the village standing on either side of the road, just cheering. And it was mental. It was actually crazy, so it was, because all those people had showed up for me. And they're all our local people, from Kilkenny, from Laois, from Ballyuskal, from Durrow, Balnakill, all the parishes surrounding. There was kids as well. There was kids who came from primary schools and secondary schools. People just continuously showed up. But that's what my community, Ballyuskal, has done for me over the past couple of months. And I am so proud to say that I'm from there, and they've just been absolutely incredible. So every single one of them has showed up. No matter what we need them to do, if we ask them to do anything, they've been absolutely incredible. So, yeah, I don't know if there's much more else I can say about my life, but I think, again, I'm just an ordinary 21-year-old who wanted to make more friends. And I've been on this journey for the past year now, and it's been absolutely incredible. I unfortunately have to hand over the sash in 2 months' time, going back down to Tralee. I wish I could stay doing this forever because I absolutely love it. Every single day is different. I have loved every second of the experience, and I really hope that I can continue to stay doing things like this after I hand over the SAT, I will be going back to my job in September as an apprentice electrician. I have 2 years left of my apprenticeship to finish, so I'm going to go back and finish those, and then who knows what life has to offer, because opportunities are coming at me every single day, and I don't think there'll be any time soon when I learn to start saying no, because I love the word yes, so I do. But thank you so much for listening to me, and I really appreciate anybody who came just to see me tonight. It means the world, so it does. Thank you so much.